Hi everybody, I'm Julia and this is Julia at Home, and today's video is about Montessori numbers and how I use the Montessori materials to teach my kids numbers. So this is the very beginning of the math sequence. I'm not getting into what the Montessori materials are for learning, beyond the basics. So teen numbers, tens, operations, and all that I'm not getting into today, and I will hope to do some other videos on some of those materials. But today is just purely on introduction to numbers. So a little introduction if you're new here or haven't seen one of my Montessori videos before, especially. I'm Julia. I'm a mom to three. I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 1-year-old who's currently sleeping on me. And I have been doing Montessori with them since my daughter was a toddler. As they get older, I kind of move into more Charlotte Mason style and am influenced by some other things, but I really like the Montessori method for the preschool years. And I have done it with both my daughter and my son, and then my next daughter coming up will be starting some Montessori toddler materials soon. A caveat that I am not a certified Montessori teacher. I am a mom who's been doing this. I have taken a course online and I've read and researched a lot, and I am from a family of Montessorians. Myself and all 4 of my siblings attended Montessori schools, and my parents are on the boards of Montessori schools, so we're very invested. And most importantly, one of my sisters is a Montessori guide, which is what you call a Montessori teacher, at an AMI certified school. So she's currently teaching elementary but taught primary for many years. So I have several Montessori albums, which is just the lesson plans for the different subjects in Montessori for the primary years, which is preschool. Ages 3 through 6 is generally considered primary. And one of them is from her when she did her training, and she is AMI certified. In case you are wondering, there are 2 different American Montessori organizations, AMI and AMS. I tend to follow more AMI just because that's what she did, and she's a great resource for me. And I think they are pretty similar on math and numbers though, so I don't think that'll matter much in this video. It does a little bit more in language, and I will have my how I teach reading Montessori way videos linked here as well in case you're interested in that. So that's a little bit of my introduction. Just want to let you know I'm not a trained guide. I'm a mom. I've done my research, but still just a mom. I don't think I'd be qualified to teach in a Montessori school. But that being said, I love doing Montessori with my kids at home. So let's get started talking about numbers. The first thing I do actually before we start with the materials is from the time they're little, even when they're babies, we're just counting and reading books that have counting. And, we do a calendar where we count up the calendar, but there's so many opportunities if you pay attention throughout your day that you can really highlight numbers for your child. So, when we're going on walks, let's count how many dogs we see on this walk, or how many cars just went by, 1, 2, 3, or, just around your house, how many feet do you have? 1, 2, just all the time. There's so many things you can count. So I do that with them from a very young age. We love reading books, so I do have counting books of different kinds. And so they already have a foundation of numbers and a little bit, and counting a little bit before we start with the Montessori materials. So traditionally in a classroom, you're going to start with the Montessori numbers activities around the age of 4. Maria Montessori found sensitive periods for children for different subjects. So for math, she talks about ages 4, I don't know if it's through 6. That's when they have a sensitive period for math and numbers. And so that's when they generally start. Before doing the numbers, they generally do all the sensorial and geometry materials. So that gives them a good basis for some of these base 10. So if you watch, I have a video on this actually on how I use the sensorial materials, and I get into that a little bit there, so you can go watch that. But they would have already done the sensorial materials and geometry, which is part of sensorial. It's not like math geometry that you do in 8th or 9th grade. It's an early form of shapes and things. So I haven't actually done a video on that, mainly because my kids were just never super interested in it. So I'm going to come back to it with them just in a little more advanced way, and I'm hoping to do it with this one. So maybe when we get there with this one, I will have a good video for you of that. But let's say that your child is 4, and whether or not you've done all those, because you're at home, so you have the freedom to do this the way you want. Or if they're a little bit younger, I actually started both of mine around 3.5 because they were really showing an interest in numbers, and I just wanted to use that interest. The first material is the number rods. The number rods are very similar to the red rods. If you know about Montessori Sensorial Materials or saw that video. I don't have them all behind me right now, but I will be inserting clips here of working with my children doing these exercises so you can see most, if not all of these. These are the red rods. I just have the 5 rod here. So it goes from 1 to 10, and they are the same as the red rods, just painted differently, right? They have these alternating red and blue portions, let's say. And I bought these, I will link below where I got these from. I also tend to ask for Montessori materials as presents from grandparents. So if you have some very kind parents that are interested in buying you educational materials, I highly suggest that route. But not everybody can do that. And I have seen lots of creative parents and Montessorians make their own. So you can use dowels. You could even just use sticks of varying lengths and paint them. So that is an option if you can't afford the material. But let's say we have whatever we're using for this material. The first thing to have them do is to lay it out from smallest to largest, just like with the red rods. So if they did the red rods material, they'll pretty much know what they're doing and probably be intrigued by the fact that this is like the red rods, but looks a little different. And if they haven't, just go ahead and show them from there to lay it out from 1 all the way up through 10 so that the ends are flush against each other. That's something I really have to emphasize with my children, is to try to make them even on the end, or else they're just kind of all over the place and you don't really get the impact of having the sizing and the different portions together. And then after they've done that, we go ahead with a 3-part lesson. Watching this video, you may already know what a 3-part lesson is, but just in case you're new or you need a refresher, I'm going to review it for you. So a 3-part lesson is really essential to Montessori. It's used in a lot of different areas, and it is 3 parts. And the first part is introducing the objects or concept that you're going to introduce. And you usually do it in groups of 2 to 4, but 3 is often what's used. And so in this case, we're using numbers. So this is 1.
It's
1.
It's only 1 color. What?
It is only 1 color, you're right. 1. This is 2. 1, 2. This is 3. 1, 2, 3. So now we have the 1, the 2, and the 3 rods all out. And I've emphasized this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. That's the first period. I've told them what it is. Now the second period, part of this lesson, is asking them to show you where each thing is. Can you show me 1? Can you show me 2? Can you show me 3? Can you show me 2? Can you show me 3? And if they get it wrong, don't say, oh, no. Just say, this is, so let's say I said, can you show me 2? And they show me 3. I just go, oh, this is 2, 1, 2, this is 3. And so you just kind of keep re-emphasizing and coming back to that first period where you're introducing it. And you're not making them feel bad. You're just we're just learning together, right? So that's the second period. And once they have that down pretty well and can consistently show you which one is which, you can go on to the third part of the 3-period lesson. And that is asking them, what is this? What is this?
1.
What is this?
2.
What is this?
3.
3. And you keep doing that until they're comfortable with those. And then you can go ahead and move on to the next numbers, 4, 5, 6. Or if you want to just do 2 at a time, you just kind of feel it out for your child. And how fast and how many lessons it takes to introduce this depends on the child. Again, follow the child is a really, really core teaching of Montessori. So if they're not really getting the 1 through 3, if you haven't gotten through all the 3-part lesson in that in your first lesson with them, then don't worry. Just be done for that day. Excellent, we're done. And the next time, just come back to that one again. And don't move on until they're solid in those original 3, and don't keep moving on until they're solid in the ones you've done before it. But on the other hand, if you have one that is moving really fast, then you can keep going and do more in one day. I generally haven't done all of them in one day because there's a lot and I just feel like the lesson's too long personally. But really, again, it's up to you and up to following your child. The next lesson in numbers is actually introducing the symbols for numbers. So we use the Sandpaper Numbers. You could use cards. You could make your own kind of tactile cards. Again, I will have these linked below, but if you can't afford those or you just need to be creative for other reasons, then please, by all means, do that and it'll be fine. So we trace it with our fingers while doing the 3-period lesson again. So introducing 1, 2, 3, having them trace it, you show them, and they do it as part of the lesson. So we introduce all the numbers this way as well. This says 1. Yes, this says 1. Can you trace it? Can you use the hand that you write with? Because I know you write with the other hand. 1. 1. What does that say?
1.
There you go. This says 2. 2. 2. This says 3. 3. 3. Can you show me 2? There you go. Can you show me 3? Can you show me 1? What is this?
1.
What is this?
2.
What is this?
3.
By the end of this lesson, they will probably not be able to write them on their own. This is just something I want to emphasize, that I'm not actually having them practice writing this on paper. I'm having them do the tracing as part of kind of muscle memory and learning what the numbers are. For some kids, that's really helpful for them for learning if they're more tactile. But we're looking for them to know visually, be able to recognize this is the symbol for 2 and this is the symbol for 3. And the language I use is I don't say this is 1 as I did with the rods. So let me pull out my rod again here. So this is 5. But for the sandpaper letters, I say this says 5 because it's not actually 5 of something, right? It's just the symbol. It just says 5. So that's the language I like to use for that. And again, I just present it in the 3-period lesson in several lessons. So after we've done the number rods and they're comfortable with those, and we've done the sandpaper numbers, and so they're pretty comfortable recognizing the symbols for the numbers, we put them together. And you can use your sandpaper numbers for this. I have used just little cards I made. I have them here. Yeah. I just made these little cards because they're just small, a lot smaller than the sandpaper numbers, so they go better with our number rods. And it's matching the number rod to the symbol for the number. So this is 1. This says 1, and so on. This is 1. You're right, 1. This says 1. This is 2. This says
2.
2. Yep. This is 1, 2, 3. This says 3. And again, that can take several lessons. I find that these ones tend to go faster because if we've already had a good foundation on what the number rods are and a good foundation on what the symbols for the numbers are, connecting them seems to go pretty well. I love the fact that we are connecting that physically. It's very concrete for the children. Next is the Spindle Box. And I will put a picture here of what the traditional Spindle Box looks like. This is one that I actually made myself. And I just used a shoebox and toilet paper rolls, and I put numbers on the toilet paper rolls, 0 through 9, and I have little popsicle sticks. And these do tend to fall over a little bit. So I have to end up putting them in the box. If you can find something that's a little sturdier to put them in or a little lighter, I would suggest that. But I have used it with 2 kids so far and it's worked. This is introducing the concept of 0. So you'll notice we have 0 spindle box here, and we have various popsicle sticks. And I'm forgetting the exact number you need to have, like 1 through 9, but I want to say it's 50 something. I'm not 100% sure, but make sure you have enough before you start, because what you're going to be doing here is putting 1 in the 1 spindle box and 2 in the 2 spindle box. And the reason it's called the spindle box is because it originally was the originally used spindles. So that's why it's called that. But you're putting the number of objects in the box. And you could even do this with like little pebbles and little boxes. I mean, you could just do a variety of things. The point is that you're putting the number of objects with that number box, and 0 has nothing in it. And it really solidifies for the children, you know, there's nothing in this box. 0 means nothing. And it helps reinforce the symbols and the quantities of the other numbers as well. How many sticks should I put in 0?
0.
0. So do I put any in?
No.
No, because it means none, right? 0 means no sticks. All right, so how many sticks are going to go in this one?
1.
1. Okay, so let's put in 1 stick. And we're just going to lean it back, so hopefully it stays. All right, how about this one?
2.
Okay, can you find 2?
Easy. Grab 2.
Okay, all right, and put them in there gently.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, into the 7.
Okay, these are going into the 7.
All right, what does this say?
8.
8. Yep, how many go in there?
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's 3, right? Pay attention.
No, I'm just counting the last 3.
3,
4.
4. There you go.
5, 6, 7,
8. Yeah, 8. Yep, go ahead. Do you want another toy lunch? No, I found the other rings. You want your rings?
7, 8. Yep, it's 8.
Okay, go put it in the 8.
Eight number 1 no.
When they're younger, especially, they're likely to miscount. Mine have a tendency to, they're counting faster. They're not counting out loud at the same pace they're moving their fingers or grabbing things often. So I do like to show them to move it as I'm counting or pick them up as I'm counting. I find that helps, but they will notice when they get to a point if they've miscounted and we have to go, uh-oh, we don't have enough. What do you think happened? And we might have to go back and count again. If it's something that your child does a lot, you can maybe remind them to slow down as they're going. But I know in the Montessori method, they like to have the children kind of experience that and get the control of, uh-oh, I ran out. I need to go back and I should have the right amount. So you should have the exact amount for what you need of popsicle sticks or rocks or whatever you're putting in there, or spindles. You don't want to have not enough, because then they won't have enough to get to the 9 at the end. And you don't want to have too much, because then if they've done it wrong, they won't know. So that's the spindle box. Then you could just kind of play some games if you feel the need to reinforce the concept of 0. So you could have different objects out and count the different objects. And let's say that you have, I have these feathers, like these feathers I got from a craft store that are different colors. So let's say you have like 5 red feathers and 2 yellow feathers. So you're counting them out. So how many red feathers do we have? Let's count out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's count out 2 yellow feathers. 1, 2. How many blue feathers do we have? 0. We don't see any, then there's 0 blue feathers. So there's different things you can do to just keep talking about the concept of 0. I found that my kids tended to get it pretty quickly, but I can imagine that there are children out there who might not pick it up as fast. And I don't think that's a problem. You can just keep talking about it. Next is cards and counters, and it's one of my favorites because there's just so many variations you can do. There are traditional cards and counters that you can get, and I will link them below. But I just used these cards that I made for the number rods, and for counters, I think they're supposed to go in vases as like decoration, but they're like the little glass pebble bead things. And I got pink ones because I worked with my daughter first and she was obsessed with pink. So it just made it a little more fun. So you're going to start by asking them to lay out your cards in order. And this in and of itself is really good practice, and something we're going to ask them to do this many times. And so, be there to help if they need it or get frustrated, and make sure they get it in the right order. But obviously let them do it. You're there watching, but not on top of it. This is the balance of Montessori teaching too, is kind of presenting it and letting them do it, but holding your tongue. And for me, that's the hardest part, is not helping until they ask for help. But yes, you're going to lay it out in order. And now if they're finding it particularly difficult, maybe just have them start with like 1 through 5. You don't have to do it all at once the very first day. But you're going to lay it out from left to right, unless you're somewhere where you write from right to left, and that is something you would do, then obviously do that. I'm in the United States. We always write from left to right. So that's how we're going to do it. So once we've gotten them all laid out in order, we have the counters, and we're going to put the appropriate amount of counters under the card. And so under the 1 card, we're going to put 1, and under 2, we're going to put 2, and so on, all the way up to 10. And this gives them so much practice in counting, like physically counting the object, and in matching the symbols to the quantity again. And we're going to do this over and over again. I mentioned earlier, I really like this one because there's lots of variations, and it's so true. And you can make a lot your own. Again, I love using natural materials. So I have various materials that they can use for this, like little tree slices, different colored beads, buttons. Yeah, just a variety. I like to use a variety of different things, but then you can find, especially online, there's so many great resources. So I have found ones that are like pirates coins and a pirate basket. And I think the one my son is doing here is one where there's flowers that have the number on them, and then you match that number of bees underneath it. And I will put a text on, I will put on the screen here, and also text where I got those, because it's I can't think of it right now, but I got that from a wonderful online shop. And there's so many more that you can do. And this is also a really good opportunity to do seasonal things. So maybe you could do like dried corn, like popcorn, in the fall. So I have little pumpkins for fall. I have little eggs for spring. I have seashells. So you can just use a variety of different things and bring in the season or a particular theme as you want to. And this is a great activity to do this for. A lot of repetition is helpful here. And I've seen like variations on this as well after they've done it laid out like this a couple times. I actually have a copy, and I will see if I can link below where I found it, where it's a page of a pumpkin pie, and it comes with little numbers. So you pull out a number and put it in the corner, and then you take marshmallows, or you can use cotton balls. Marshmallows are more fun because you can eat them later. And you put it on the top of the pumpkin pie to be like whipped cream. So let's say I pull out like the number 4, and then I'd have to put 4 on the pumpkin pie. And then you clear it off and do it again. And then afterwards, if you're using marshmallows, you can eat them. Around the holidays, I'll often do activities like this with my kids with Hershey's Kisses. I almost always can find something that's age appropriate for them to practice that I set up ahead of time, where maybe it's for language or for math, but we're using them and then they get to eat them afterwards. So they always look forward to that. The next activity I do with them is the number fetch game. Now, this is just a game where you have in one bowl or bin or basket, you have an object of something. So in this example I filmed here, I had little eggs, little decorative play eggs, I guess, because it was springtime. And I have in another basket or bin just numbers, and I just write a variety of different numbers from 0 through 10 on little slips of paper, and I fold them up so the kids can't see. And I usually put them in different parts of the room. So let's say I start with holding the slips with the numbers in them, and I have my child put the child put the container with the object on the other side of the room, in this case eggs. And then I have them choose a number, and they have to pick it out without looking. And then they look at the number. They're kind of fun way to do it is they don't tell me what it is. They go get that number of things and bring that back to me with the number, and we make sure that they match, that the number symbol on the slip is the same as the quantity that they're bringing me. And then we just do that over and over again with lots of different numbers, and it's lots of practice. And again, you can do this with lots of different objects, and it's kind of fun. If you have more than one child that are of the age to do this, or maybe you have one that's a little older, it's actually really fun to have them do this together too. So that's a really fun sibling activity. You know that one? All right, go get me that many eggs. You ready? How many do we have here? Let's count them.
1,
Over here. 1,
1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, you were right, 7. Okay, you can bring over 8. Okay, here. I'm gonna put 8 right there. Can you count the 8s? Make sure we have 8. That was good. We should count slower next time, but that was good. Okay. So both the cards and counters and the memory fetch game are areas where I spent a while with my children just playing with that. It's just playing with numbers and symbols and matching them, right? And we're really focusing on 0 through 10 and not going to the teens at this point. Next is another Montessori material, and this is the Bead Bars. I have a little basket with one of each bead bar in here, and I actually have a whole box where I have many of each, but for right now I just brought you one of each. So they're different colors. And so this is, let me just show you because I don't know how to explain it. This is a 1. Here, let's see. This is 3. This is, let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is 5. Here, let's see if I can, the fact that I have a Band-Aid on this hand is not helping me. This is 5. This is 10. These are golden bead bars. And I will probably do another video at some point on the golden beads and how I still use them with my 7-year-old as well. But yeah, this is a 10 bar. And so yes, it has 1 through 10 and they're all different colors in here. And so for this activity, there's a couple things I actually do, and not necessarily all on the same day, but I will have slips of paper, and these can be the same ones you just used for the memory fetch game, or they can be different. And you have them match the little slip to the bead bar. So they're just counting in a different way now, but it gets them familiar with these because these are also used later in different Montessori materials. And then the other thing you can do is have them build a little triangle, putting them in order from 10 at the bottom. You can see, like, if you put them like this, then all the way up to 1 at the top. And then you can also have them label them from there, 10 up to 1. So So these are the bead bars, and it's reinforcing the same concepts, but it's, I think having them on these bars, it's a little trickier to count them. So we did a lot of practice with counting these, and also it's just, it like shows them a different way, right? So we're kind of moving a little bit more into abstraction, it feels like, with these. So at this point, we've gotten our kids pretty familiar with numbers and the symbols of 0 through 10, and you could really stop there. I'm going to share with you just a few more activities I'd like to share that just sort of introduce and reinforce other numbers related language and also some skills that are helpful. So the first is odds and evens, and I do this with the cards and counters. And you have them lay it out like you would when you're first introducing the cards and counters, but hopefully this time they really know what they're doing. And then underneath, again, you start with just, and I do 1 through 10 here, not 0. 1 is just 1 underneath, 2 is 2 underneath. And here I really like to make sure that they're doing just like pairs right next to each other and like nice little pairs down. And then the 1 kind of on the side instead of in the middle. That's how I like to do it, because it makes it obvious that the even ones, like 2, have pairs. There's no 1 on their own, whereas when you get to 3, there'll be a counter without a pair. So we talk about how the ones with pairs are even and the ones without a pair on the bottom one are odd. And so far, they've both noticed as we were doing it that it alternates between the numbers. And this is really just to introduce the concept of odd and even. It's going to need a lot more practice and reinforcing for them to remember it, I think, but I like the introduction of it. And the last activity I want to share with you today is pattern cards. So this is not technically numbers, but this is a really good activity to do alongside teaching your kids numbers. It really is a good foundational, like mathematical thinking activity. So I have lots of different pattern cards that I use with my children that I've gotten from various places. These ones happen to be flower cards. It's from the same place as the flowers and bees, so I will have it linked below. You have a card that has a pattern of things. These ones are I feel like a little bit more difficult than some of my early ones that I have. And these ones are all in card form, but you can also have ones with materials. You have the child identify the pattern and then add to the end what comes next in the pattern. These are another one like the cards and counter that can really be seasonal or thematic or just from your child's interest. So I have these with pumpkins, and I use the little pumpkin things that I have as counters. And I just made my own pattern cards by finding like a little black line picture of a pumpkin online and putting them in order on paper. And then I actually just colored them in with colored pencils to match my different colored pumpkins. So it's just different colored pumpkins. They identify the pattern, they finish it. And then you can also encourage them to just make their own patterns as they go. And yeah, I have several of these. Imagine Our Life has ones with fruit that come in this fruit pie thing that I have. She has pattern cards for that, so I've used hers, and then they use the fruit objects, pretend fruit, to finish it off. These are not toddler safe though, so I just want to put that out there. A lot of these math materials, not toddler safe, so because you'd notice I do have a toddler, and I was working, my older children are 2 years apart. So I was working with one while I had a toddler. And so I just want to mention that toddler's sleeping, toddler's on you, toddler's distracted or napping. Or if you need to, you can do these activities on the table where the toddler can't reach. So just wanted to put that out there as kind of an ending caveat, because I know many of you homeschooling people out there also have multiple children, and so that may be a concern with Montessori numbers. If you want to see more on specific concepts or Montessori materials, please let me know in the comments below, with the caveat that I don't have all of the Montessori math materials, but I do have many of them. And I use them with my children, still use them with my 7-year-old. I also would love to make more videos specifically on math. So if you want to see my favorite math books, my favorite math games, or anything else math related, also let me know what you're most interested in the comments below. And of course, like the video, subscribe if you haven't. I will have my other Montessori videos linked in the description below, as well as probably in cards above. And I hope you are all doing well and are safe and healthy and having fun with your children. I will talk to you later.